As you can see, I'm here in the Adreno shop in Brisbane. Change the location, something fresh, something new. This morning we're talking about freediving safety, and now we're talking freediving safety. Freediving is what we do when we're spearfishing. No matter what people like to say, freediving doesn't only include the freediving sport. It is even holding a breath in a bath, if you want to put it that. Snorkeling is a form of freediving. It's what we do that gets us to the place where we're going to find our fish. We're going to freedive. So when we're talking freediving safety, we're talking about those actions that look after our lives and the lives of our buddies. And that's really the responsibility that we have to take on when we do this sport. Just like if you're doing mountain climbing, you'd have to make sure your ropes and your buddies' ropes are secure, etc., and you're working as a team. Well, this is the same thing in spearfishing. We are working with a team, and we think we're in the ocean by ourselves, chasing fish. But we are actually part of a team. You're a team with the people in the boat. You're in a team with, even with the people you train with. This is part of the team that brings us up to the point where we can spend a couple of minutes under the ocean targeting fish. Okay, so there's one point here I want to look at. When I've gone and studied the causes of blackouts over the last so many years, and for a couple of years, probably 3 years, I traced down every blackout, and I found people to talk about it, people who were there. I interviewed them, not officially, but I just wanted to get to understand what was happening. And in this 3-year period, I think it was an intense period because we lost 8 divers to shallow water blackout. And there was one thing it all came back to, that if that had changed, would have saved all of them. And that was diving with a responsible buddy. It was the one thing that all of them, no matter how dumb the mistake they did or not so, no matter how much there was a coincidence that occurred that would happen 1 in a million times, it would have been saved if they had a competent buddy watching them. So above all else, the top level of this whole area of safety is to dive with a competent buddy who watches the whole dive. When we say competent because his job is to watch the entire dive and to be there when you come up. And if that had been done on every one of these blackouts, that person would still be around. So we have to approach it that way. That diving with a buddy who knows what to do and has drilled it, and we'll get to that in a minute, is very important. And it's probably the most important thing you can do for you and your buddy's life. One of the best ways to approach this is getting to understand your own and your dive buddies' abilities. What are your abilities? How long do you have underwater? Who actually knows this? And I'm not saying you test it out to see, exactly when. I'm going to find out, exactly when I black out. Any blackout is a failure. No, we have to be a bit smarter on that. And the way we do that is we train, and we just build up the training. Now, this has some great effects in that you train and you do build up your abilities, but it also gives you the ability to understand where you're at. Okay, you start off quite often, new people in the pool, swimming less than 50 meters underwater. And then after a few months, you're doing 75 meters. You've turned at 50, you're doing 75 meters. But you're starting to understand, because you've done it a lot of times, you've pushed to feel the urge to breathe, you've pushed and you start to understand what occurs in your body at certain points. Now, if you're lucky, you'll get to the point where you'll come up and your dive buddy will look at you and go, "You were close." Now, this is a controlled environment. You have to understand there's a controlled environment where you've got safety divers watching your entire swim. Now, in that situation, you come up and your diver says, "You were close." all of a sudden there's two things that happen. One, you realize you're mortal. And this is very important, especially for that intermediate diver who's really doing well and doesn't know their limits. So the second thing that you realize is you've got a chance to look at all that dive and see when you got the urge to breathe and how far did you go past that and what were the perceptions you got. You know, how did the body feel? Were you contracting? You know, it gives you an understanding of what goes on in the body when you get a bit close. Now, this is vital. In the pool, you've got safety divers and you've got a team worked out to make sure you're safe. Out in the ocean, now, Mother Ocean can be very harsh. And you have to, you know, have a high respect for her. That means you can't go off and run, you know, even with a one dive buddy watching you. You can't sit there and work in the area of 80 or 90% of your abilities. That's a mistake. You cannot do that. You have to knock it down to 50 or 60% of your best ability, because otherwise it's kind of like disrespectful to how powerful the ocean is and the various conditions. So you've got to knock it back a bit so that you can dive with the fact that your dive buddy's going to be there, but you know, you've got other things happening and you've got, you know, the odd shark, or you've got a, you know, distracting thing, you know, a school of wahoo surround your dive buddy on the surface and you're down the bottom and don't even see it, you know. So you've got other things happening. So you cannot afford to run at that level. So you get to understand, you know, when you get to that level and how long it takes when you start training in a pool. This isn't particularly a big, what would you call it, promotion. You must get trained or something like that, because not everybody does that, and time in the ocean is its own training thing, but it's about understanding your abilities. It's no good going out there and having no idea whether you've got a minute and a half safe diving or 2 minutes safe diving or whatever, you know. And everyone is somewhere on the scale, whether you've got a 30-second dive or a 2-minute dive or whatever. Everybody is somewhere on the scale. You need to understand that. One of the very important things that we practice as free divers, spearfishers, is one up, one down. One up, one down means one diver is down diving, taking the shot, chasing the fish. The other diver is responsible on the surface. And his job now is not only to watch the diver, but that's the major of the watch the diver and see that he's safe. For example, you know, it's not only free diving, for example, looking at, you know, the diver's down there and the next thing you notice a bull shark over here. So there's a bull shark over there, diver's down. You know that the bull shark, if he is very territorial, could be dangerous, you know. Doesn't happen often, but it could be. So, but a bull shark will be intimidated, especially by two divers. So you might have to, as a safety diver, pop down there and put yourself close to the diver that's there. And that could well be enough to make sure that nothing could occur. The other thing you do, for example, looking around, any boats in the area. You've got boats coming, you make sure the boats see that there are divers in the water and that your buddy doesn't come up underneath the boat or in front of a boat. So you've got other things that are more than just the free diving. However, one up, one down, the guy on the top is watching the diver and checking out that he doesn't overstay. And if by some chance he gets tangled, you can go down there and handle that, help him. You know, you can watch him as he comes up and make sure he's okay. See, this is the job, one up, one down. Now it takes a, excuse me, it takes a level of competency of, you know, you've got to know what you're doing to be able to, it's no good, guy comes up and starts having a trouble and you don't realise he's in trouble and you're just watching him sort of playing around, he's having a samba at 2 meters or something like that. And you're going, whoa, what's he doing? You see, that's incompetent. You don't even know what you're looking for. See? So it's not just one up, one down. It's one up, one down, and the one up has to have a level of knowledge and competency. And this is you can learn in freediving courses, you can learn training with a good freediving club. One of the major things that you've got to look at is changing your safety systems with the change of conditions. I mean, it is pretty simple. You might be diving 8 meters and you've got visibility 15 meters or something like that. You can see this diver and you can see him going up and down. You can see him from a bit of a distance away. He's only a few seconds away from you being able to grab him. 8 meters, not a problem. However, if you go to 28 meters, all of a sudden it's a very different situation. Now, not many people start at 28 meters, but it's not too hard with a bit of training and some physical ability to acquire that over a period of months. Now, this is where you can get into trouble, in that you can have a diver who's got 8 meters and then gets, because of his physical abilities, he gets deeper and deeper and deeper, and 6 months later, he can do 28 meters. This has occurred. If you don't change your safeties, systems, and you're still using the same safety system that you're doing at 8 meters, that's where you're going to run into trouble. 28 meters is a long way. You know, at 28 meters, it's probably, you can count on the fact it's 30 seconds. Traveling at 1 meter a second, which is what the average is for most divers descending and ascending, 1 meter a second. So traveling at that, at 28 meters, is 28 seconds to get to the surface. All you need is an old man snapper down there, and you've got a bit of a breath hold, you've got some confidence, and he's sitting just outside of your range, and you're waiting to get thrown sand up, you're hiding, or you're doing whatever you're doing, you're waiting for him to get a bit closer and to overstay. So at that point in time, you've got 30 seconds to get there. You may not have 30 seconds of breath left. So you understand you need to change your safety systems when you change your depth or changing other conditions. For example, diving 30 meters, it's not unusual, or 28 meters, it's not unusual for people to work in threes. You know, one person watching the diver, and you know, another person handling the rig rope. The person watching the diver times the dive, knows he might even go out of sight, but he's timing the dive and he knows he's going to start coming up at a certain point. He goes down to meet him. This is some of the safety systems that are very smart to put in. Meets the diver at 15 meters. At 15 meters, he can see whether he's in trouble or whatever, and then follow them to the surface, watching him. You get the idea? So it's a matter of knowing what to do and changing your safety systems with the conditions, you know. You would dive differently with a 30 knot or a 25 knot wind coming up or something like that, you know. Or all of a sudden the current changes, you know. Change your safety with the change of conditions is the thought that goes behind this.
Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed the video, be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss a video. You can check out more content on our YouTube channel. Visit one of our stores and shop online at www.spearfishing.com.au.